What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Redemption 46 Studios. I'm Nick.
I'm Curtis.
Y'all know the vibes. Y'all seen the picture. Y'all seen the thumbnail. I know why y'all here. RM, lonely. I'm lonely too because we've been working so. Sorry, nah. We've been busting our ass, y'all. We tried to really do so much content that we fed people who weren't Army, and also do enough content to where you guys got a majority of the RM stuff for Indigo, got enough content for Jin on his birthday, and some other random, well, not so much random, but other BTS related stuff too, so that way Army can feel like they got a lot of content within the last week, and other fandoms can be happy on Patreon, also feel like they got some content as well. So with that being said, just be a little bit patient with us. All the shows will pick up again next week. Enjoy the content that's out right now, and literally a few days after you get this, everything will pick itself back up and we'll be good for the month. But no long talk, we can jump right into Lonely and then dissect it and have a conversation about this, where it fits on the album and everything else.
Let's do it.
You didn't have to cut me. Sorry, nah. Hey.
Now I'm just lonely. So fucking lonely. Somebody come back.
Song like
잘나는 영화 속에서 담겨졌어. 싫어 이 호텔 룸에 혼자 떠있어. 시끄러운 경적 소리 좁아진 방의 눈빛 말을 건너 내게 갇혔어. I tried a million times to let you go. So many memories are on the floor, and now I hate to see these I don't belong. Just wanna go back home. I fucking want it.
I love his melodic voice too.
Now I'm just lonely. So fucking lonely. Somebody come back. 네, gotta tell you something. 나 모든 게 싫어졌어. Guess I wasted time, fucking text and I hasten. 온종일 YouTube and Netflix. 그저 또 phone 속 데이터와 daytime. 매일 아쉬워 rendezvous. 빨갛게 돌아가는 날 몰라. I shot a million stars to let you know. So many trivial thoughts are on the floor, and now I hate the buildings I don't even know. Just wanna go back home.
I'm fucking lonely.
Now I'm just lonely. So fucking lonely. Somebody come back. I'm fucking lonely. Now I'm just lonely.
Oh, come the fuck on.
So fucking
I
lonely.
want the song to keep going.
Somebody lonely.
We love you, RM.
Hold on, crap, to bring that back.
I'm fucking lonely. Now I'm just lonely.
That got me emotional.
So fucking lonely. Somebody come back. 잘나는 영화 속에.
That was. Well, I don't know why the BPM Kurt reminds me of.
A little bit more upspeed than this, but yeah.
Wave after wave.
No, yeah, definitely that part. Definitely that part.
And a little bit, like I said, I was joking when it came on with the Somebody You Used to Know, which to me is one of my favorite songs of all time. Really? Yeah, let me let the cat out the bag. This is now my favorite song on the album. Yeah, this is them. I think it's this and Closer for me, and then
Did you like All Night?
The Flower.
No, excuse me.
Oh yeah.
The Tableau John.
The Tableau John might be third,
Wildfire?
but Wildfire might be fourth. But I think really my mood might switch, and depending on what my mood is.
I mean, this literally is 10 different shades of blue, so to speak. So everything is going to be kind of a different shade of the same
ilk.
Exactly. So yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
This is beautiful. Like, I really got emotional for multiple reasons. One, because I kept saying that I kind of wanted RM really just like singing, not so much a ballad, but I wanted him to be able to express himself like this.
Exactly.
And it's just like I feel like he heard me and just like gave me what I asked for, and that's really, I just wanted one track like this on the album, and I got it. Thank you, RM. With that being said, it's crazy, y'all. Before this, we was listening to "Lucid Dreams" by Juice WRLD a little bit ago and stuff like that. Something about just straightforwardness when attacking things of this nature. I'm fucking lonely. And then you can dress it up however you want after that, but just that first is just an initial punch. I'm fucking lonely, and it's crazy because like I got a whole depression playlist. Like Coi Leray's Anxiety's on there. Like I said, the Juice WRLD stuff is on there. Somebody Used to Know. All that stuff is all like on that playlist and stuff. This is definitely going on that playlist. I love his cadence. I love the pockets he was in. I love how comfortable he felt as far as being like melodic and being able to kind of flow on like those beats and stuff like that. Give me a second, Redeemers. Let me get a little bit. It's cool too, and it's like juxtaposed because it's like I feel like he's be doing this MV with a straight face like that. And I love the iteration on how he almost did it all English and then jumped in and did jumped in South Korean and then jumped right back in the English pocket. Which means RM, like I wish this charted. I think it charted, but I wish this would chart higher because this is that good blend of it's enough English for you to get behind it, but then I still stay true to my roots and I still have South Korean in it. And Korean. I keep saying South Korean like it's two different languages. Yeah. But I still have Korean in it, and I just love that. I love this a lot, man. I'll be a prisoner in a moment. I really like this a lot. This is this might be one of my favorite RM songs in general. I'm that high on it, and it's crazy because I've seen some people talking about this. Not enough, but shit. I got to jump back in our Closer comments to see what they were saying about that because they was going crazy on the Closer comments too. Yeah. But how you feel, bro?
Nah, I definitely like this a lot, and it's just it's definitely different as far as the isolation aspects. For one, clearly him saying lonely and not having the feature on this particular track. I know that was something that
that's true.
I mean, of 10 tracks, 8 of them have features, 2 don't, and this is one of those that doesn't. But all that to say, it's just I really do like the simplistic nature of it because you're like as far as like the beat production and everything, it's just kind of on a guitar, like a little acoustic guitar, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Though it could possibly be a banjo. If it's not like.
Which is funny because we thought the other joint was a banjo too on the other track.
But I like that kind of scaling things down. And honestly, a lot of that album kind of seems to be like in part at least about some of those things. But basically, one of the real things I want to touch on here is like for one, I know it's a short song and I know the hook is going to take up a little bit, and then within the verse structure you're going to get let's just say 6 to 8 lines maybe between. All that to say, it's just within those 6 to 8 lines I felt like he did such a good job of really not necessarily just telling the story, but it's more so like kind of like he got right to the point, but he said it in the most like eloquent way he could have and poetically. And what I mean by that is it's easy for someone who's as poetic as RM, not saying like the poetry is easy or anything like that, but it's easy for someone who knows and loves poetry to want to slip into how do I layer this with similes, metaphors, right? All those kind of poetic elements that we know and love. And especially, for RM, I like how he infuses the poetry in this, but keeps it so like scaled back in the hook and everything like that. And what I mean by that is specifically like when he talks about like I shot 1,000,000 stars to find you, basically. Like talking about love. Honestly, the last few tracks really have been about love, about meeting someone, wanting them to get closer to you, wanting them to stay with you, and then kind of that heartbreak when they actually do leave you, and then basically afterwards seeming like you're trying to pick up the pieces, but you either don't know yourself or you don't want to engage with anything, saying I hate cities I haven't been in or like anything like that. Like nothing kind of feels like home. Even the hotel room feeling like narrow and just being trapped inside yourself. Like these are all very complex things, and it's I like the way he's building kind of the building blocks of that story. Throughout the last 4-ish tracks, I'll say. Basically from forgetfulness to kind of now, I want to say, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, I like how you said the kind of had to shoot like a million stars to kind of get to you or to get basically to meet you. But then, when it all fell through, like everything kind of crashed to the ground and burned seemingly. And just, this lyric here, mind if I, sorry, it was, so many, that's what I was going to touch on. So many trivial thoughts on the floor. Basically the idea too, that it's like, like, ironically, almost like how we were saying with the, the Juice WRLD thing where it's like had thoughts of a wedding ring, but, like those kind of things. And that's kind of what it feels like here as far as the trivial thoughts, where it's like, I shot across a million stars, to meet you, to get to you. But then it's like all that, planning of the future, thinking of what we could have been is all trivial thoughts that are now on the floor. And what I mean by that is that's detailed and layered poetry, but it's also simplistic and understandable. And what I mean by that, too, is like the stars, the highest of the high, but then the floor, lowest of the low. So you're playing on a little bit of oxymoron between high and low. Basically saying like it was, you had plans up here and then everything kind of crashed to the ground.
And even still continued it with the whole, and I even hate the buildings,
Exactly.
which is more of an in-between.
Yeah.
So it's like everything fell to the ground. It's almost like fuck everything from there to there now.
Your whole world, your literal whole world kind of fell apart because it's like, and much like, and I'm not tying this into, what we had seen in the Dio video or whatever from EXO, but just how you can kind of juxtapose those where everything can be going wrong in the world and you have love and you feel like how, those themes relate to you. Where it's like, things can be going on wrong around me, but if I have this person or if I feel this connection, like I'm happy, like that's enough for me. That's going to recharge me. That's going to get me through my day. That's going to, give me almost a purpose, I want to say. And then you juxtapose that with kind of when you have when you feel like there's potential for a future. And I feel like that's kind of the trickiest thing with love that is often really hard to describe lyrically, but when it's done so well is, you do hear about, falling in love and then kind of having it all kind of fall apart. But even those like, I'm getting close to someone, closer. Even that, like, I'm getting close to someone, we're building something, I'm seeing potential in this person, then to have it crumble. That's like that hope, having that hope crumble. And then you kind of put up your walls and you don't want to, open up as much. And then if you don't open up as much, you're never going to find anything. So it's just kind of one of those... It's a horrible, kind of cycle of life, but ultimately just as is true with so much of what we've seen from the album for RM, it's just so human. I want to be human first. Human is going through love, going through heartbreak, going through loss, feeling those things, and then ultimately trying to get to a place where, learn to love again. And that ties into so many things, but all that is expressed in such a very short amount of time. And just really lastly, what I really want to touch on is just his inflections in his voice. Like, I know he was being melodic, and I really do enjoy his flow and everything. But there's also moments where he's like, I can't or I don't want to. And it was just like you felt like the inflection and the hesitation in it to where you're adding the emotion of like almost like a choking up kind of like too painful to talk about sort of, moment. And again, it's all in, very, very simple groundwork in the acoustics of everything. It was just presented so well. And it's weird. It's like I don't know necessarily where I think of this in terms of, like what's my favorite or anything on the album or anything. It really all feels like almost one song. I mean, just because the album really feels like one song kind of up to this point. And there's definitely, I really love, again, his ear for production and kind of the way he chooses to tell these stories. Because especially with it being something that's reminiscent or relevant to a time capsule of your 20s, it's kind of like, when you get to a place where it's like, I don't want this to, like, you have to go through a lot of dark periods, you know what I mean? Like, kind of retrospectively, like, looking back and processing those things and how you felt and, and then couple that with, again, oh, yeah, you're still having to live this almost superstar kind of life on top of that. you know, that's just insane. And I just really respect him in his artistry, and I, more than anything else, I want to say, I mean, nothing, you know, against the track or anything like that, but just I love getting these peeks into RM's mind and his thought process and kind of what he's going through. It does feel like a therapy session, but it's, again, it doesn't feel like it's just like it feels like it's, oftentimes when artists write about tracks that are painful for them, it's double, like it serves double purpose in the sense that it's like it's something that's going to heal me talking about and kind of getting these emotions, you know, on wax basically. But also, you know, to anyone out there who either had these feelings, goes through these feelings or anything like that, you're going to latch onto it and you're going to make it your own. And that's really ultimately what I think is my biggest takeaway, at least from what I'm seeing of the album up to this point, is just how relevant everything is to him, how poetic it is, his ear for production, all those things, all the different genres and elements he's playing within. But then the way he's able to kind of allow you, like he's welcoming you along that journey too, to kind of invite yourself to feel what you feel and relate to, you know, the subject matter within. And I just think that's a tell of any great artist.
Yeah, that's one of my biggest takeaways too, is that like just shout out to RM. He's so vulnerable, like on this entire CD. And really just, you know, I'm not saying that I think he's like artists can get past like the vulnerable stage as far as like, well, you know, I got money now, I got this, I don't need to even talk about certain things anymore.
Yeah.
Just I find it beautiful that he trusts like himself, he trusts the music, he trusts Army to be able to kind of tell iterations of his stories in the music. This shit is just dope to me. I think everything has collectively been a vibe so far. I gave y'all my ranking, but like Kurt said, I think technically speaking, depending on the mood, things could shift or change as far as what you feel like listening to. I know something like this would just be something I kind of can listen to all the time, because I'll have moments of just being lonely or depressed or something like that, and then sometimes I like to listen to depressive music when I'm depressed.
No, I do.
So it's just kind of it's like therapy.
Exactly.
So I literally, and I mean, you probably could say that about any track on here.
Yeah.
I literally could see people crying, like kind of like listening to like this track. And I think people had mentioned it almost 3 times or 4, however many is up on YouTube. I think mostly 2 on YouTube where people's like, I'm already crying, like just listening to it. But I kind of get it. Music is therapy. It's a stress reliever and a way for us to escape sometimes. So cry if you need to.
Absolutely.
Of course, you can jump in.
I just wanted to, I didn't want to step on your point or anything.
No, you
Another thing, like I really do love about this and about, you know, art in general is much how he kind of relates to the idea of, you know, checking out, you know, the artist Young or whatever from the beginning of the album, from what we have come to understand of that. And just knowing, you know, what art means and how people, you can put something up there and it's timeless and it's something that you will infuse your emotions and feelings onto, and everyone will have a different interpretation of those things going all the way throughout time. And it's fascinating, you know, and that's something that I think is just so beautiful about art in general. But relating that to this, I really love that, like, you know, I guess sad music, at least to me, is something that I listen to much more. You know, I mean, even when I'm ranking, you know, BTS content or anything like that, songs that, you know, a lot of the songs in my top 5, top 10 are all really emotional songs, you know? And it's not to say that the title tracks do, you know, less for me or anything like that. I love them. I appreciate them. I'll vibe out to them all the time. And the lyricism within them is deep on top of that. But it's just something about, I think, those kind of more sad tracks that it holds a mirror up to you, and it allows you to kind of read into your subconscious, because, you know, that's the thing. It's like our subconscious, we never know really what's going on. Hence, you know, it being subconscious. You know, we only get peeks of those things through like dreams and things of that nature. And that's why, you know, things like dreams are so fascinating. But all that to say, it's like whenever an artist kind of holds up a mirror and basically says, this is, you know, my story, I went through this, or I'm feeling this way, it allows you to kind of read and infuse your own emotions and feelings onto, you know, that canvas. And the way it reflects back at you is something that's going to, you know, it's going to tug away at things that are, you know, subconscious for you and kind of bring those to the surface. Hence, if you react to that with, you know, tears or you know, for us, you know, being creatives, maybe it's writing, maybe it's watching a film or anything like that. It's just, I just think that's ultimately something that, again, you know, tying with the young thing is just something that's so very, you know, human. Something that should be embraced, you know, and I certainly understand, you know, if anyone, you know, cried to this. Now, I will say Wildflower is certainly that song for me. I mean, that song, especially in subsequent listens, just kind of digesting the lyrics a lot more and just, you know, feeling the space that he's left in and kind of what that represents. And, you know, Eugene's beautiful vocals on there. It's just like, you know, that song just, you know, really, I don't want to say twist the knife, but like.
No, I get it.
It's kind of like if you were already like kind of feeling sad with RM's lyrics, it's like when that first hook comes in and you're like, oh no, like this, like it was like if you were holding anything in then, like good luck. But no, ultimately, like just to say that that's extremely beautiful. So I love, you know, when those kind of things happen. And just to touch a little bit on one of the lines I love in the second verse is basically the clock ticks, like this hasty time. Haste in time. And again, and we've seen that, you know, explored in, you know, several other tracks and you know, some groups, but it's, you know, time is the one thing that, you know, humans can never change or fight. You know, we can't really slow it down. We can't speed it up. We
can't get it back.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, and what that comes with, and this is why I love the one line he said, I forget which song it was, where it was like being stuck in the present, but in a sense of happiness. It might have been in Still Life, possibly, because that was one of the more upbeat tracks. But what I love about that is basically when it gets into the sense of like, this is really painful because if it's in the past, you can't change these mistakes you made, right? Whether it's love or, you know, regret, like anything. It's just all these things are going to build on each other. And uncertainty of the future, right? You know, who am I? Where do I go? Those kind of things. What do I want? How do I get there? You know, all these kind of existential, you know, sort of questions. But it's like, you know, when there's all those uncertainties both in the past and in the future, and then being able to kind of be in that pocket in the present where, you know, you're kind of willing to embrace that, A, there's opportunity, B, you can be free and you can be happy. But ultimately, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a glass half full thing, or glass half full, half empty thing. It's like it's just how you really choose to view it through what specific lens. And what I mean by that is kind of like time is always ticking regardless. So it's like you can use that as an opportunity to try to move forward and to try to like, you know, the sun's gonna rise tomorrow. Like this was a bad day, but I'm not gonna let it be a bad week. Or this was a bad moment, a bad hour, whatever. I'm not gonna let it be a bad day. Those kind of things, or it could be something that you really, you know, need time to process, you know, things like heartbreak and, you know, certainly loss and you know, things of that nature. So, you know, take that time, you know, however you feel is necessary. Don't feel the need to rush or to slow down or anything like that. Just, you know, be free, be yourself, and, you know, allow yourself to feel, to be human, much like the art, you know, suggests.
I'm human first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and shout out to P Dog too. This was him on the production. I know RM and him wrote the lyrics together. So
P Dog actually in the writing credits too.
Yeah, which could have just been an arrangement or something like that too. But you know he's
nonetheless. That's
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, man, you shooting on all cylinders. I'm sitting here being emotional.
Like
this,
human, you know?
Yeah, but this, bro, this just has so many applications, man. Yeah. I can really see this like being played a lot of places. Like I said, the production. I know sometimes people get irritated when we pull up songs that sound pretty similar. It's most of the times just to show you guys other songs in that same BPM or register, kind of to show you what they did or kind of what mood it puts us in and stuff like that.
And honestly, I like some of the juxtapose with those things too. How can something be the same beats per minute, but one be more upbeat and happy and one be more melodic and sad? So it's kind of, I like what it says about us as humans and kind of how we interpret and understand things. You know, how these combinations of instruments and strings and drum patterns make us feel, you know what I mean? That's what I love about OSTs and things in general. You know, there'll be no words behind a track. You hear them few piano keys and you just already tear up. You already
know what's up with the what's up.
And it's just, there's something so interesting and fascinating about that and how those things kind of pull at us and what it, you know, ultimately says about us as humans.
Yeah, and this is another one I wish you can get like an MV for.
Absolutely.
And I know he's probably going to be very selective on that, you know. Might only get one, maybe two or something, you know, like down the line or something like that.
Certainly the budget that went into Wildflower and everything, and just, you know, Like, I understand if they, you know, decide to spend it on one, that it was that one.
I would assume probably it's two, just because Hope had more in Arson.
Yeah, that's
so
possibly the beginning and end of an album, possibly.
So if he kind of gave us the tell, and I'd assume the second video would be something more towards the first part of the album. But I'm here for it, and I think even just outside of us wanting to see the MV, I think RM is very deserving of him just dropping it so we can show him love too, as well as viewing it, seeing what he has to offer as far as like the visuals. Because even in Wildflower, we got a whole buffet of knowledge and information basically with that whole MV. And we know that anytime it comes to putting those MVs together and stuff like that, he's going to come up with some crazy type of concept, regardless of if we think it's simplistic or if it's one of the more complex songs from him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I'm so proud of him. And I felt that same way with Hope when like he first dropped. For this to be his debut album, I feel like so far, with the whole 8 tracks that we've listened to, he is conveying and telling a very beautiful story and a very good telling of what his 20s was like. I keep saying he's being very like vulnerable, and I love that. It's just for him to still be going into like his 30s and like still being humble and still being like the same guy, as far as like, you know, with his morals and standards and stuff, that he was, you know, from day one. Just speaks a lot to like his character, and I really just want the best for him. I really just, you know, want him to do a lot, and I really think sky is the limit for really all the members, because I think even this is a masterpiece. Kind of one of my favorite BTS like albums collectively so far as well. Well, RM's album, but I'm saying within the pantheon of all the members together, one of my favorite albums. And I honestly feel like he's just getting started. I feel like he probably still got more shit to talk about, especially since, not like I don't want to say make it seem like he didn't have anything to talk about. I was surprised he was able to get this clip off after him seeming like he was at a space where he didn't know if he
felt like he
wanted
didn't have
to.
anything left to say. He felt like he said it all.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's just like, bro, you didn't, because you just said a lot.
But it's interesting too, in taking that time to have to reflect and process everything and get to a space where it's like, you know, if you know, I'm assuming there's all these questions of like, you know, what do I want to do and all this stuff, and then getting to that place where it's like, well, you know, whether it's him just, you know, biking around, exploring nature, you know, hiking, things of that nature, ironically.
Yeah, museums, ironically, too.
Yeah, and it's just like, you know, those kind of things, and it just allows him to get to a space. Like, I'm really proud of him, you know, and as I said in a previous video, in relation to the album, but it's certainly true, is just in general getting to a place where, as a human, you know, even separating like the music and how amazing it is, and the deep themes that you're touching on as well. It's like just appreciating, you know, a person who's in a place of pain and struggle, getting to a place where they feel like they're at least ready to take that next step forward, or even if it's just to rest, just overcoming that top. You got to the top of that hill, you know. And that's just, you know, I'm just really proud of him in that regard. And honestly, the last lyric I was really going to touch on was just the whole being lonely on an island, and kind of, you know, someone called me, like, you're wanting connection, but you're on an island, so there's no one that can connect with you or no one that can reach you. And kind of finding that reason where it's like, is it because I'm putting my walls up, or is it because like I'm just so strange or so obscure from what everyone else like is, you know? To where it's kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, I don't know me, so how do I expect everyone else to know me and to like me or to love me? Because literally, I mean, he did say like someone loved me or something like that, and it was just like, you know, I mean, clearly us as fans, we love him, but he might feel that that's just a persona, you know. You might love RM, but, you know, and I made the mistake of saying, you know, we love RM, but of course, you know, we love Namjoon. So I didn't want to, you know, take away anything from that, but just knowing that, like, you know, people are going through that, as you said. I mean, it's incredibly relatable. It's certainly sad, and it's a lot to think about. And ultimately, I think that's what a big piece of this is going to be for me, at least, is just going to be reflecting on these things like well after the initial reaction and just kind of processing them. I mean, we see it with, you know, songs that we react to all the time, where we spin the block on songs and it's like, oh, you know, now I feel this way about it. So it's like, I'm curious how like this art is going to stay the same. Yet when we revisit it as humans, just in general, and I mean that in a broad sense, we're going to be different people. I mean, he said, you know, even in the track, you know, people change every day, every second, right? So where it's like, you know, every day you're almost kind of this new, slightly shade of a person, and just kind of come to embrace that and learn from that. But yeah, I really do love all of those things for sure, and I think it's something that's ultimately, I guess it's ultimately something that will have infinite rewatchability value to it, because you can always kind of come back and assess, you know, you might see this on a happy day and then you might assess it on a sad day, or you might assess it after a particular incident happens to where it strikes a very different chord for you. Even ironically how we checked out the adult child and it was like, oh, you know, he's, you know, talking about the end of his 20s and how it just kind of struck a different chord with us. Whereas other people and certainly day one armies would have probably heard that years and years ago, might not have listened to it since, or maybe they listened to it, you know, every day or every few days. So I just love that art can kind of always register in these different shades for us, much like, you know, the shades of the album, the whole like 10 colors or 10 shades of blue aspect. But yeah, for this being, you know, this track on the album and how much he's touched on up to this point already, the fact that he's still kind of given new shades as far as like, you know, what he's singing like vocally, infusing Korean and English as well, the production, his ear for production, and how he's working with various producers that they've worked with throughout their career, and just ultimately how amazing it's been that he's had these collabs. Because, and I'm not going to turn this into that or anything, but I could have easily seen someone being background vocals on here, to where you try to emphasize like the distance between someone, you know, like fade effects. Like what was it? Pluto. Where you hear the faded vocals in the background, where it's like I'm trying to connect, but there's like I'm becoming distant from you. Like I could have seen a similar approach in production to kind of like, you know, someone like screaming like they're trying to like reach you, but then like like a distancing effect. All that to say, it's like when you have all these tools at your disposal, it's like what is going to best convey the emotion I'm trying to tell. His decision and how he works with his producers and his collaborators to reach that final place is like, I love that, because just as an artist in general, you know, filmmakers and everything, that would drive me crazy, where I'm like, I got 9 different options laid out on the table for how I could possibly approach this. And, you know, all of them have, you know, serviceable qualities that, you know, they'd be applicable. So I just really love his musicality, like who he is as a person for sure, and definitely first and foremost, but what he brings to music in general, his ear for production, everything is something that's always going to hold a special place for me as well.
Yeah, he's a genius. He has a high motor, hard work ethic, and just generally just a good human being. So,
big heart.
Yeah, so I think good things are just always going to kind of come your way when you have all those attributes. Shout out to RM. This album has been amazing so far. We're definitely going to be giving you guys some more like content from here and be discussing the album in whole. As you can see, like the sun is coming up and we probably looking like a little bit brighter. Just like I said, more content is going to be coming, guys, for BTS. We've been working our asses off, been in here kind of like 3 days in a row to get stuff done, staying till like 8 o'clock in the morning. So just be a little bit patient, y'all. I know sometimes
we got you.
Yeah, I know sometimes y'all be wanting the content because y'all want to hear our feedback and stuff like that, and we're gonna give it to you. Just remember, it's a lot of people on here and a lot of like different fandoms and stuff, but we'll never forget about Army. It's kind of like our backbone. With that being said, let's have a conversation. Y'all know I love talking to y'all on here. Really talk about like everything that me and Kurt was talking about, because we kind of went the back and forth. I really want to see where this ranks at as far as like the songs on the album. And just if y'all don't have a rating, just tell me like what your top 3 are or something like that. And don't cheat and say the whole thing's a classic. You got stuff that stood out to you, and I want to know what stood out to you, because we want to interact with y'all. But we love y'all. We'll holler at y'all.
Love y'all.
Peace.